All right, welcome everyone back to Israel National Radio Root Sheva. I'm your host, Ari Louis. Thank you for joining us. We have a very special guest. Of course, if you were not under a rock, you know that Super Bowl 49 occurred last week in my hometown of Arizona. Here to talk about that, who was on the ground at the game, at the parties, all that good stuff, from Inside Score on Podcast One Network, the lovely and talented Beth Silverberg. Beth, how you doing out there?
I am doing fabulous. It is raining in Miami, but I'm still recovering from my week in Arizona. Thank you for having me.
Yes, well, Arizona is my hometown. Did you have a good time there? Did they treat you right out in Phoenix?
Oh, my God. I met several members of the Super Bowl committee. I can't even tell you the countless events that I attended. They were fabulous. They really were. They did a great job.
When there's a Super Bowl in a city, really the whole world kind of navigates itself there. I want to know if you saw any big celebrities, any stars, that anything you're allowed to talk about. Sometimes they like it private, of course, but any fun stories you have regarding celebrities?
No, I have a really, really good story. Actually, on Radio Row, if you've ever been to the Super Bowl and you work in the media, there's this thing called Radio Row. And pretty much it's every single major network in the world, and every celebrity and athlete walks through Radio Row at some point during the week, and we were waiting for Lenny Kravitz. I used to work for Lenny Kravitz when I was 18, when I worked for Virgin Records, and long story short, he came right on Friday, walked right in front of us, actually had to do an interview with SiriusXM. He did his SiriusXM interview, and then came out and shook our hands, said hello, and waved to my husband. I think my husband was about to faint, but it was really exciting. Great guy, and he's here in Miami, so I see him every once in a while at the Hyde Lounge. I have some connections with the Miami Heat, and he's just one of many. I mean, Jamie Foxx, we talked to Jamie for a while, went to his event. He had a huge event at the W, Scottsdale. Everything was pretty much, every major party was at the W, and I think I was there for 5 days straight in a row. Cam Newton, I mean, I interviewed possibly, I would say, 40-plus different athletes from all over the country. Steve Weatherford, great. Obviously, some of the Patriots. I mean, Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady on Radio Row Media Day, insane. All of this people will be able to hear on my show, which is debuting February 25th on Podcast One Network. The
Nice.
network is Dan Patrick and Rich Eisen and crew. So we're very excited to have the world hear some of these interviews.
Oh, yeah, that's great stuff. And I saw, not that I was talking to you, but I saw that you have a picture with Michael Irvin in Scottsdale. Did Michael behave himself? We know he's a bit of a party guy sometimes back in his day. Was he
my
nice
goodness. Michael has changed, man. Michael is like my little brother. And
nice.
He and I are very, very close. We go way back. We're very close friends. And you know what? By the time I saw Michael, he had been in Arizona for about 2 weeks because, as we all know, the Pro Bowl was in Arizona as well.
Right.
So, of course, he behaved himself and, he hipped and hopped the ESPN party. But you got to remember, when you're working an event for the media, especially for the Super Bowl, you're working from 7 o'clock in the morning till midnight. So these guys, on the air all day long. And then I think Michael said he only had a day off in 14 days. So
wow.
He behaved himself. He's a great guy, and he does a lot of great things for a lot of people.
Okay, now I'm curious in regards to the interviews. One of the more famous interviews, well-known interviews throughout the week, was the one that kind of didn't happen. Marshawn Lynch, the whole 3 minutes thing, 3 minutes I'm done. He put his cell phone on. He stared at the crowd. He stared at the media. That was a little strange. Were you there when that happened, and what was the general response and feeling of the media towards Marshawn Lynch during Super Bowl week?
I was, and to be honest with you, I think the media pretty much overwhelmed him, and I actually applaud him because when you have 50 microphones and cameras thrown in your face, everybody batting out questions at one time, Marshawn Lynch is a beast, obviously beast mode. He was focused on the game. He didn't want to talk about the inflated balls. He didn't want to talk about all the drama that the media was throwing at him, and I kind of just looked at him from the side and winked at him and kept on walking. I felt terrible for him, and obviously he's the number one running back in the National Football League. And you know what? Sometimes the media kind of overwhelms people, and I don't think he did anything wrong.
Yeah, I thought people think just because he's a big guy and he's a great athlete that therefore he should not be shy, but I just looked at him as a shy young guy, and he didn't like all the attention, and he was made to go, so he did what he could with that. Again, we're speaking with Beth Silverberg here on Israel National Radio. Beth, you interviewed a lot of stars, as you mentioned. Any particular interviews that really stand out? Maybe one with Brady, maybe one with someone else. Anyone that really stood out for you?
You know what? Believe it or not, I was very, very lucky to interview Chris Matthews from the Seahawks, and this is obviously before a lot of people knew him. Well, he was, rookie coming into this year, caught 4 passes, and it's the actual Super Bowl. Now they know his name. Everybody will know him next year. He's a fantastic guy, and literally walking right carpet, there was an event, and I have to give mad props to my girl Jen Bieber over at Branded Management, who did the Suits and Sneakers event. That was by far one of the best events the entire week, and the red carpet there was just crazy. Usher, obviously Jamie Foxx, nameless guys, but as far as athletes go, talking to him really, really impressed me. He's got so many positive attributes, so many things he's going to do with his life outside of football, and now the world knows who he is. Kind of like the whole Jerry Maguire story, and again, that's a whole nother story. I was at Lee Steinberg's event, and that was absolutely priceless. Priceless.
They say that Jerry Maguire was based on Lee Steinberg, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so and Lee Steinberg, a huge agent, and he was part of Super Bowl festivities. When you saw Chris Matthews make those catches and had the Seahawks won, he very possibly would have won the MVP. How shocked were you? A few days before that, you're interviewing him. He's not so well known, and now, as you talk about, everyone knows who he is. How shocked were you that he played so well?
Actually, he didn't even think he was even going to get as many carries and touch the ball as many times as he did. And I think he was more shocked than anybody else. But again, it's just when you're an athlete in the National Football League, whether you're a name star or whether you're not, it's hard. It's a lot of work. It's people think it's all fame and glory and fun and parties, but these guys work so hard. And he's a very humble guy, and I think next year he will pretty much light up the field for the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are the youngest team in the National Football League. The average age of a Seattle Seahawk is 27 years old. So these guys are all young, hungry, and I would not be surprised if we see them next year in San Francisco at Super Bowl 50.
Yeah, they're already projected as the #1 favorites by Las Vegas odds, even though they lost the game. So we got to go into this. A lot to talk about, but that call at the end of the game, Pete Carroll decided to pass on 2nd and goal with Marshawn Lynch. How surprised were you when that happened?
There are no words. Really, there's not a word to actually say what I felt at that moment, along with probably 32 million other people across the United States and around the world. But Pete Carroll, he got overconfident. He got cocky. He had 3 downs, 2 timeouts. Why he did not wait until, and even if fake to Marshawn, let Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is one of the only quarterbacks that can run, not the only, but run out of the pocket and make a play. And I was astounded, shocked, and I don't even know what else to say about that. It's been talked about so many times. However, it was the craziest Super Bowl, and I've been to many. The craziest ending of a Super Bowl I have ever witnessed in my entire life.
Beth, I have to tell you, I was broadcasting that game for another station. Before that play occurred, I was about to say, and they give it to Lynch. It was in my mind. He was standing to the left. And they give it. Oh, he passes it. It was. Everyone was surprised. And there's been a lot of talk that the players themselves were shocked, and they came out and had some statements. I want to know, you were on the ground there. Anyone say anything to you or anything you heard them insulting their coach or questioning their coach regarding Seattle's side?
You know what? No. And I think they all respect Pete Carroll, especially Marshawn Lynch. His comments were, pretty much we respect the coach. We do what the coach says. And that's what they all did. Now, what they felt, I'm sure, is another story. And as far as what some of them said outside of the game and after the actual Super Bowl was over that are, pretty much off the record, there's a lot of things that were said. But Pete Carroll is a highly respected coach in the National Football League, and he accepted what he did. He took responsibility and was accountable for his actions, and I think that says a lot about Pete Carroll.
Richard Sherman, it was talked about a lot of his son being born possibly during the game. His son actually was born very recently, I think about an hour ago approximately, so it was all told to him. It was talked about, though, that if his wife was going to give labor, even during the game, he was going to leave. Do you believe he really would have done that? It was a big story talked about because he's one of Seattle's key players. Do you think he really would have missed the game to watch his son being born?
100% yes. He's a very family-oriented guy. He's kind of got a bad rep in the media, but he's really down to earth. And I don't think come on, he went to Stanford. The guy's a genius. Is so smart. If it came down to it, maybe he would have met his wife at the hospital after or right. It is a very good question. I mean, it comes down to this is the Super Bowl, and he's obviously he is the best corner in the league. I think he would have played, but I think his wife would have understood, and I think he would have just gone right to the hospital as soon as the game was over.
It was a major topic among me and some of the people who follow my radio work because, as a son, I don't remember when I was being born. I don't remember who was there, but if my dad could have made an extra $1 million, I would have preferred that, and he would miss me being born. That's what I was thinking, but a lot of people thought, no, he's got to be there. And it ended up not being an issue. His son was born today. Speaking of Richard Sherman, he's so smart, as you mentioned, went to Stanford, Rhodes Scholar, genius, but he does things at times which are, although entertaining, you kind of scratch your head. When Darrelle Revis was beat on that touchdown in the third quarter, he went 2-4 the camera, mocked Darrelle Revis. Is that just gamesmanship? He's part of the show. He's doing that. Is there another side that maybe we don't understand? Why would a Stanford graduate do those type of things?
You know what? I think he just likes to tease and taunt. And you have to understand that if you listen to NFL Network and when the guys are wired up for sound, you hear some pretty crazy things because it's not just Richard Sherman. Tom Brady was taunting as well. And it's things that you guys don't, the public, the fans don't hear. When you're on the sidelines at a game, like I often am, you can hear these guys talking. And you can hear them taunting each other. And it's just part of the National Football League. It's part of the game. I don't think it's done intentionally or to be demeaning. And some guys just have the personalities and some guys don't. You look at Marshawn Lynch and he's not going to say a word. And then you look at someone like Richard Sherman and he's going to, make all these jokes and taunts. And it's just his personality. But bottom line is the guy is so smart. And if you actually, at the Seahawks press conference, one of the reporters asked him a question, do you think you are the best corner in the league? And his response was, don't ask me a stupid question like that. I won't answer it. When you have a journalistic question that makes sense, I'll talk to you. And I just laughed my happy ass off. It was so funny.
Again, we're speaking with Beth Silverberg here on Israel National Radio. Tom Brady, Tom Terrific, that image, he taunts people. Get out of here, Beth. What does he say? Are you allowed to repeat it on the air?
I have heard him, pretty much say some pretty funny things on the sidelines. Actually, when they played Miami the first week, and actually the Miami Dolphins actually beat the New England Patriots, he was saying some pretty funny stuff. Got you there, good one. Like I told you, and then guess what? They lost. So I mean, it's all in the game, and it's all good fun. And him and Gronkowski have this relationship on the field that is just priceless. I don't think anybody else has that collaboration and teamwork together as far as the tight end and the quarterback. And if you see Gronk off the field, he is a character. He really is. He's a great guy as well. I've seen him here in Miami in the off season, and these guys, you got to remember, they're just people. They're human beings. They like to have fun, and they're just privileged to play in the National Football League. And outside of that, they're just like you and I.
Now, after the Super Bowl, there are also crazy parties. In fact, Gronkowski, when the Patriots were in Super Bowl 46, partied even though the team lost, and he was a bit injured to party anyway. I'm sure he definitely partied when they won. I want to know how that whole process works. Is there a general party everyone goes to, or just the party for the Patriots? Does Seattle even go somewhere and party even though they lost? Tell us how that whole thing works.
Well, I can tell you that I know this. They go from several. There is not one specific place. They all have their individual places of where they go and where they went. That's obviously, I can't really release that information of where they went. But, I think some of them party in their own individual way. Some of them go home and be with their families, Some of them get arrested. unfortunately.
Right.
And but it's really down to each individual person, and they celebrate in their own individual way. And I think even the Seahawks, to make it to a Super Bowl 2 years in a row, I personally think they should have won that game along with probably half the United States in the world, but we can't change history, unfortunately.
Let's talk about legacies. Brady gets his fourth, and Belichick gets his fourth as head coach, and he won a few as an assistant. Brady has as many as Montana. What is the general scope of the media of where Brady ranks all time?
The majority of the media does believe that Tom Brady is the number one quarterback of all time.
Wow.
When you look at his history versus Joe Montana, I think Tom Brady is probably will be the number one quarterback of all time. Is he right now, today? I think that's debatable, and whether or not he will obtain that status officially is yet to be seen. Again, right now tied with Joe Montana. Their stats are so similar. If we pulled out the stats book, and my media guide is 346 pages if anybody wants to read it, literally. But you gotta look at some of the other quarterbacks too, like the Manning. Peyton Manning is an icon, broke so many records this year. Andrew Luck, I think, is still very talented, up and coming quarterback with a big future ahead of him. There are so many quarterbacks out there, but is Tom Brady the best right now? Absolutely yes.
Now, this game featured two Jewish owners. You had Bob Kraft, the Patriots, and Paul Allen of the Seattle Seahawks. That was like the Jewish element. Was it all? Robert Kraft has a lot of ties to Israel, and now that he won, do you think I guess was he in such a joyous mood because he hadn't won a Super Bowl in 10 years? A lot of people in Israel are concerned or curious if he would end up giving a donation because more money, whatever. I want to know, I'm sure you hear crazy questions. I don't know if that was brought up, but I guess did you have a bit of Jewish pride that there were two Jewish owners in the Super Bowl?
I think that's a very, very, very good point. And, Mr. Kraft is one of my favorite owners in the National Football League. He gives so much back to the community. I've met him several times. He has done so many positive things off the field and outside of the National Football League to give back. And, the fact that he is Jewish, it's great. I mean, literally there are a lot of NFL owners that nobody knows their name. If you question the general public, who owns Seattle Seahawks? I mean, obviously now they'll know because they're in the Super Bowl. Who owns the Cleveland Browns? I mean, most people don't know, but most people do know Robert Kraft. And I will say this, he's very, very quiet, very, very down-to-earth guy. He actually, when they were in town, hung out at a little pub in Fort Lauderdale. I'm not going to say the name of the pub, but just like if you didn't know that was Robert Kraft, you would have walked right by him. He's not flamboyant. He's not over the top. He's just a great man that does so much for the city and gives back to so many in need.
Great point. Thanks for giving us the inside scoop on that. Again, we're speaking with Beth Silverberg. A few more minutes with her. We know she's very busy. As I talked about, and you mentioned Seattle, probably the favorites to win according to the Vegas odds. They're a young team. What is your aspiration of or expectation of how they take this bone gut-wrenching loss? They're at the 1 yard line, about to get 2 Super Bowls in a row. How do they take that in to the next coming season? They're all young. They haven't really experienced this type of loss before. So how do you expect them to take that and motivate them next season?
Well, you have to look at their history again. As you pointed out, they were in back-to-back Super Bowls. They are very young, very talented, and I think they're going to go into the 2015 regular season just like every other team. It starts over. It's everybody's 0-0, and you have to get out there and train in the off season. Hopefully they will pick up some great guys in the NFL draft this year and just kind of get back to work. I know a couple guys that I'm friends with out in the Seahawks, pretty much their mentality is, we were at the Super Bowl. We were blessed. We made it that far. We're going to do it again next year, but we're going to win it. We're in it to win it, and that's pretty much the mentality of the entire Seahawks organization from what I saw and from what I've heard and from what I talked to some of the guys. But people are questioning Pete Carroll and is he the right coach? Should he be there? Obviously, he still will be the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks next year unless some major change goes down that you and I are unaware of between now and then. But again, the Seahawks, what they did, in my opinion, is very, 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 very hard to do. And do I think they can three-peat? Absolutely.
Again, you're right. I mean, it's not that often that you see a team in back-to-back Super Bowls. It's very, very rare. Hasn't occurred in a long time. So congratulations to them, and congratulations to you on your upcoming project. I want all my fans and the audience to check you out there. So plug that. Again, tell everyone where they can listen to you in the near future.
Sure. Actually, we've been on the air for about a year. You can go onto iTunes and download the Inside Score, the Inside Score on iTunes podcast. We were on Voice America Radio Network for a year, and my show just got picked up 2 weeks ago on Podcast One, which is the largest podcast nationwide, worldwide network in the world. I'm very excited to be alongside Dan Patrick, Rich Eisen, Dennis Miller, Adam Carolla, just to name a couple people that my show will be aired on their same network. I'll be doing a tour, media tour with on Dan Patrick's show, on Rich Eisen's show, Jimmy Fallon, all this stuff coming up in the near future. So, again, you can follow me on Twitter at Beth Silverberg. That's at Beth Silverberg. You can find any episode. We've had Favre, Michael Irvin, Marshall Falk, just name it, on our show. And you can find all those past episodes on iTunes under The Inside Score.
All right, Beth, thank you so much for your time. We know you're very busy. Really appreciate giving us the scoop on before Super Bowl, during the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl. So thank you so much for that, and much success on this new advancement in your career and being around all these great people. Only continue good things. And again, thank you very much for being on my show today.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Be well.